Bill, nice to see you.
Hi.
Thank you for being here with us. Well, did you ever get concerned about Moody's?
Well, I think everybody's following the whole credit rating thing and talking about different reforms in terms of how those incentives work. But I certainly never told Warren what Berkshire should do one way or the other.
Well, see, that's the thing. Do you ever tell him what you think when it comes to at least some of the stock portfolio? Because you strike me as a very independent thinker and an entrepreneurial guy. I mean, everybody knows what you've done in your past, but don't you think that it's the right of the board members to be able to say, Warren, why are you buying ConocoPhillips when oil is $147 a barrel?
I wish he had.
Well, I get to talk to Warren a lot about businesses and what things are doing well, and we often talk about the companies in the portfolio. So there's a lot of open discussion. We have asked Warren as the CEO to make those decisions, and so far so good.
Oh, so he doesn't just ignore you?
No, not at all.
No. I help him out on developing software, but
Yeah, I don't think so. Now, I know you wouldn't have done this because Warren actually got his idea to invest in the railroads from you. You were one of the original guys who was thinking, let me put into railroads. But would you have said to him, if you felt this way, this is a lot of money to spend on Burlington Northern, it's a capital-intensive business, and I don't think you should do it. Had you thought that, would you have had the courage to say that to him, or would you figure he's not going to listen to me?
Well, there was a lot of good discussion about Burlington, its prospects as the U.S. does well, some of the issues about that it's partly in a regulated business. The fact that it requires capital is, if it's getting reasonable returns, that's actually not a bad thing at this stage, because Berkshire's generating a lot of capital, and some of the businesses, although they're incredible businesses, additional capital would have very low returns. And so even though this one doesn't have mind-blowing 20% returns, it's nice to have one that'll typically have good returns. So there was a good discussion. You know, Warren decided to look hard at Burlington. Warren, in the end, you know, that's a big decision that he made. But I felt like he made sure that if we had any thoughts, he could put that into the equation.
Has Bill
incident, I mean, he was only about 5 years ahead of me on figuring out the economics of railroads. Actually, if I can just say 5 years behind him, I'll feel I'm doing pretty well.
Has any of your board members ever flat out said, don't do this?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, not on Burlington.
Not on Burlington,
no,
but
no.
other issues?
Yeah. No.
And do you go ahead and do it? Anyway?
No, I listen to him. I might go ahead and do it, and I might not. But both things have occurred.
Bill, what impresses you most about the way Warren Buffett thinks?
Well, he has a framework for looking at a business and the profit stream that's going to come out of it, and the dynamics of competitors and policies that allows him to make very quick and very sound judgments. And you know, it's a lifetime of doing that. You know, in a rare case where it doesn't work out, he thinks, okay, what did I miss? And so that model just keeps getting better and better, and no one else is as fanatical or as talented.
He and Charlie this weekend were kind of ripping people, not with high IQs, but saying just because somebody has a super high IQ doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to blow it at some point.
Liz, in my job, you don't need 150 IQ. I mean, if you've got 150 IQ, sell 30 points to somebody else. You just don't need it. I would not have gone into a job where I needed a high IQ.
Well, you brought up the long-term capital management example. Of course, that was the hedge fund that blew up in 1998 due to a very bad ruble debt, Russian ruble bet.
That was they had a whole bunch of conversion bets that all started correlating together, and then they had extreme leverage.
They were smart guys.
They were very smart guys, and I know some of them, they're decent guys, and they had their own money at risk.
So what does that tell you?
It tells you that a firm of 200 people with enough leverage and enough interconnectedness in the financial world could cause a situation where the Federal Reserve was worried about what their failure would do to the system, which is pretty amazing when you think about it.
Bill, you're obviously a technical guy. Warren is not. I mean, I remember you and I were talking, and you said, it was a couple of years ago, you said, I've just recently taught him how to click on the blue E for Internet Explorer. How do you get him to understand your world?
Well, Warren knows what he needs to know, which is technology's making information available. It's both good for companies to get things done, and it lets them compete more vigorously. And so, if you go through the Berkshire businesses, they're all, ISCAR using new technology very effectively. Even something like Burlington, the railroad story really is a story of scheduling the equipment in a rational way. And so over the last 20 years, it's gone from a business that didn't use its capital very well to one that uses it better and is taking share in many cases away from trucking because of that.
But looking at technology, it's not one of these fly-by-night sectors anymore, Bill. I mean, this is not a nanotechnology where it's in its early stages or something brave new world. Have you ever brought Warren a tech company and said, you really ought to look at this to consider buying it?
No, I've never done that, whether it's Microsoft or any other, because tech companies, by their very nature, live on the breakthroughs that 5 years down the road, there'll be another breakthrough that changes the rule, and 5 years later, there'll be another breakthrough. Now, that's a fun ride, but in terms of being able to say, is this where capital should go for 20 years, I think that risk of technical change is not what Warren feels is his game, and he's got a game where he's better at it. There's one person who has got Warren to buy a tech company, and that's Charlie. I don't get that distinction.
We'll be speaking with Charlie. Well, a couple of years ago, you got a Kindle. Have you looked at the iPad, Warren?
No.
Oh, that's going to make Bill.
No, I will be the last guy in the world with a landline phone reading a daily newspaper. You're going to come out and interview me someday, and you're going to say, here's the last man on the planet.
The last one. Well, Bill, you guys just shelved your plans for a tablet over at Microsoft. Was that a concession in a way to say, geez, the iPad came out swinging here. It had huge sales.
No. The tablet is a device where you have input. You can take notes and write. And Microsoft has a lot of different tablet projects that we're pursuing. We think that work with the pen that Microsoft pioneered will become a mainstream for students and can give you a device that you can not only read, but also create documents at the same time.
That's the one I'll use.
Because it has a pen. Yeah. It's a lot easier for you. You look at a company like Apple right now, its market cap, and I know, Bill, you might argue with this because of the way they actually count the shares, but is bigger than a company like Berkshire. It's now counted bigger than Microsoft, maybe bigger than everything except ExxonMobil. What does that say to you about how intelligently or not the market is valuing companies?
I think what it's saying is Steve Jobs has done a terrific job, and there will be companies that excel, and occasionally they will excel because of luck, but usually they excel because of brains.
Phil?
Yes, I think both in general and in this specific, Apple's done a great job.